Hey everybody, this is Scott Presler. I'm not here to bring you a happy video. I'm here to give you a dose of reality. It's August 29th. I want you to bookmark this. You timestamp this right now. It's after 2 a.m. and I'm out walking my 6 miles as I do every single day. And I'm here to tell you, Republicans are gonna lose everything this November unless we change things, and quickly. You're gonna lose the governorship in Virginia, and you're gonna have a Democrat. You're gonna lose the governorship in New Jersey, and you're gonna have Mikey Sherrill, Murphy 2.0. And in Pennsylvania, where we have been working tirelessly, nonstop, even since the election, we're on the verge of having 3 Democrat Supreme Court justices retained until 2035. Republicans, I hate to say it, and I love ya, but I'm gonna be honest, you are absolutely clueless. And it's not just the leadership at the top, but I have to say to our voters, if you are only planning to vote on election day on Tuesday, November 4th, consider the election's gone. Over. Game over. You've already lost.
Scott, welcome back to the show. Always good to see you. Wish it was under better circumstances, but let's just lead off with that video I just showed. Explain why you thought what you did in August.
Well, thank you for having me back. And so the video you're talking about, it's 2 a.m. and I'm walking my 6 miles like I do every day, and it just hit me. This was back in August of 2025, and I've just been poring over the data for Pennsylvania, for New Jersey, and we just weren't hitting our mail-in voting marks. And I wanted to offer a stern warning to everyone, all of my followers, and say, listen, guys, unless we embrace the early voting, unless we embrace the mail-in voting, unless we get our act together, we're going to get clobbered this November. And I also noted Virginia in there as well. And I filmed that video for a couple reasons. One, I really wanted my warning, hopefully, to light a peaceful fire under people's behinds to go, listen, you won last year, but that's not good enough. Politics is 24/7, 365. There are no years off. And quite frankly, if you want Trump to be a 4-year president, not a 2-year president, that means using 2025 to galvanize voters for 2026. But number two, and I even say it in the video, and I'm not being egotistical by saying this, it's not my intent, but I wanted proof. I wanted a Scott was right video that if my prophecy came true, I wanted to be able to point to people and say, look, I told you, I warned you. Why did nobody listen? Why are we repeating the mistakes of 2022? Why are we not learning from the past in order to win in the future? And I think ultimately the viewer at home, it's pinned on my X account right now, and I want people to see I tried to warn the public, Sean.
Okay, so when you send out that warning, you probably had an intended audience. I mean, it's not, I get you're talking about the public. We all have a responsibility. But who
Yes.
was it that was it that you were speaking to? The campaigns, the parties, the state party or the national party, outside groups? Like, who was it that you, in the back of your mind, when you posted that video, you said, yeah, I want everyone to know, but here's who I really want to know?
Trump voters. I wanted President Trump voters that duly elected him with the popular vote in 2024 to understand that if they want this MAGA America First agenda to continue in the future, they have to vote. Listen, we are the low propensity party. And it's not good enough to just have our voters come out for the popular vote every 4 years. Sure, that's great. That will win you the White House, right? But then you're going to lose everything in between. So no, that message specifically was to our beautiful Trump voters that voted in 2024. And I knew unless we got them to vote early or vote by mail, it was going to end in disaster.
All right, guys, if you're looking for that amazing snack, then you got to do what I do right now. I've gotten in a masa chips, all natural, 3 ingredients. That's right. Corn, seed oil, and salt. That's it. crunchier, tastier. These are Maha approved snacks. You are not going to regret it. My tip, get the variety pack. Go to Masa, M-A-S-A chips.com, masachips.com/Sean, S-E-A-N, for 25% off. That's masachips.com/Sean. Use code Sean for 25% off. So I have my buddy Seth Keshel on the show from time to time, and he talks to me about these registration numbers. And he was like, hey, look, everything's shifting right. Less Democrat, more Republican. So where's the disconnect? I mean, people are clearly not affiliating with the Democratic Party. They're in disarray. And yet I look at their numbers and they turned out their people. So I would have assumed on the registration numbers, they were going to have a problem and we would be having an advantage. And yet I look on election night and I'm like, underperform. Like what happened?
Well, underperform, I think there is nuance to it. So I've taken a couple days to myself to collect my thoughts and regroup. And as I've begun poring over the data, look, I want to apologize. Republicans, you did turn out. And that's the fact of the matter. We had 120,000 more Republicans vote in Pennsylvania, and we had the highest number in a municipal election, even higher than 2023, even higher than 2021. And really it does reflect population losses. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is losing voters, not gaining them, and yet Republicans went up. So we had 1.3 million voters in 2021, 1.4 million in 2023, and we got out over 1.56 in 2025 in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So I want to make it clear, we did deliver. We did deliver a historic number of Republican votes, and we did our job at early vote action. It just so happens that at the same time, Democrats got 2 million voters out to our 1.5 million. And a part of that, again, I'm going to say it over and over, is the Democrats had 700,000 mail-in ballot requests for the November 2025 election. Republicans had 272,000. And one interesting note is actually we came close to our 2022 gubernatorial numbers, which shows my video talking about early voting is making an impression, but the question is it enough? And I have to give a shout out to our New Jersey team. Anyone who says that Republicans didn't turn out in good numbers in New Jersey isn't telling the whole story. What I mean by that is, again, people are looking on its face as the numbers of Sherrill versus Chattarelli. And when you have those two candidates, clearly Mikey Sherrill won by over 14 points. That is not for dispute. However, did Jack Chattarelli receive 120,000 more votes in 2025 than he did in 2021 in a state that since COVID and with all of the red refugees fleeing the Garden State still turn out more voters? The answer is yes. And so I think, Sean, two things can be true at the same time. Is it possible, or several things? Is it possible we're the low propensity party? Yes. While people still are not seeing the prices of things going down as quickly as they expected, possibly. While Trump derangement syndrome and the overall hate of the Democrat Party and all of its voters for Trump and everything considered MAGA America first, are all of those factors coming together? I believe so. And so ultimately, I want to be clear though, Republicans did have significant turnout increases in both Pennsylvania and New Jersey. And I'm actually very proud of that.
Okay, the one state we're not talking about is where I am, in Virginia, because I look at Loudoun County, Winsome Sears, well underperformed, which he should have done up in Northern Virginia County. And then in Southwest Virginia, where President Trump had really done a great job of turning out the vote. So you're mentioning New Jersey and Pennsylvania, but at least on my analysis, it doesn't look like Virginia fits that pattern.
Well, I mentioned those two specifically, Sean, because my organization had full-time staff in both New Jersey and Pennsylvania. We really didn't have the ability, the finance, the resources to spend any sort of time in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And the numbers are disappointing. Again, I think it's a culmination of those factors that I said. And listen, I don't think the furlough helped in a state dominated by Northern Virginia, where we know all of the limousine liberals work in Washington, D.C., but live in Nova and reap the benefits of living in the Commonwealth. I think the furlough definitely played an important role in helping Spamberger ultimately win that election. But the thing that's concerning to me, the thing that I can't wrap my head around is, yes, while Republicans did do better, I thought there was going to be more of a Charlie Kirk effect. And I think maybe a lot of other people really thought so too. And the one thing that I still can't really understand is how could any voter, knowing what Jay Jones said, knowing what his intent was, having the attorney general, the chief executive, the chief enforcer of making sure that laws are done legally and are protected in the Commonwealth, how anyone could vote for that person. And I think that is probably one of the most nefarious outcomes of the 2025 election, that AG Miaras did not get reelected.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I want to talk about the Charlie Kirk effect in a minute because I want to get your take on this. But before that, I want to sort of riff off of what you just said. Knowing what we know now, which is that you can say pretty much anything on the left. You literally can talk about killing your opponent and then hoping that their kids die in their mother's arms, and that won't have a huge effect. I mean, yes, Jason Miaras did better than Winsome Sears when it comes to percentages, but clearly Democrats were not troubled by this. And so let's go back to the way forward. What is the lesson learned? What do we need to do? What did you see on the ground that if we go, okay, Scott, we turned out more, but they turned out more. They had a unbelievably flawed candidate. That didn't seem to matter. Instead of curling ourselves up in the fetal position and saying, well, that sucked. What do we learn going forward that we need to know about the midterms? Like, what is the lesson that you're going to tell people we need to do better as we have 1 year now to get our act together?
I mean, it's frustrating because I've been talking about this since 2022, when in that year, on election day, machines went down in Arizona. It snowed in Nevada. They ran out of paper in Luzerne County. And just, I need to touch on it for a second. What happened in the 2024 election that nobody is really talking about, that I just saw there's a lawsuit now, or at least there's a legal investigation. So we had bomb threats in New Jersey. Nobody is covering that. We had machines go down in Cumberland County, a real red county in New Jersey as well. And in Chester County, Pennsylvania, they had 75,000 voters who were not printed and included in the poll books. That when these voters, and by the way, it was about 20% of Chester County. Chester County is a real big county outside of Philadelphia. Each of those voters that came to vote as an independent was told that they must vote provisionally. And in fact, I spoke to voters that were turned away because they ran out of envelopes to put the provisional ballots inside of. So ultimately, Sean, gosh, there's so much I want to say, but the main point is, one thing that we're going to do differently January 1st, 2026. That's when the slate is cleared in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and we can begin getting people to sign up for a mail-in ballot request form. Day one, we're going to be out knocking in the snow. Day one, every person that signed up for a mail-in ballot in 2024 or 2025, we have that list. We need to be knocking. We need to be texting. We need to write postcards. We need to email them. We need to call them. We need to begin building that firewall on day one going into the May 2026 primary. Because again, we are the low propensity. And right now, we need to really have serious benchmarks. So what I mean by that is 2022, 300,000 signed up for the mail-in ballot. 2025, we had about 272. Really, if we don't have 250,000 to 300,000 going into the May 26th primary, I don't really see Republicans being competitive. We must be better at setting benchmarks and meeting those benchmarks. Last point, we need to be ruthless. And I'm not saying be anything but peaceful. I am always going to be peaceful. I believe in ballots, not bullets. I'm not a Democrat. But what I mean by that is the Democrats care about nothing more than power. That's all they care about. It doesn't matter morality. It doesn't matter policy. It doesn't matter candidate quality. The only thing that gets a Democrat going is ballots into boxes. And that's what the Republican, I'm not saying we don't have morals. I'm not saying we don't have candidate quality. I'm not saying that we don't have good policies that are going to uplift the American people and stop the squeeze of the government. But what I am saying is, in addition to all of those good things that win campaigns, ballots into boxes. And quite frankly, Sean, at this point, I say nuke the gosh darn filibuster, pass election integrity legislation, secure the 2026 elections, pass bill after bill after bill on behalf of the American people, show the Democrats are nothing but do nothing suits, and show the American people we're willing to act and they will reward us with their votes in 2026. But buyer beware. Keep doing the same thing, Republican Party, and you're going to lose the House of Representatives and Donald Trump is going to be impeached.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the filibuster's going anywhere. I don't disagree with you, Scott. I just for that reason and so many other agenda items, I feel like Republicans are so short-sighted. It's like the Democrats would do this in a heartbeat, and we're sitting back trying to act like. But let me ask you this: when you talk about us being low propensity, clearly President Trump can get out the vote. He's shown that now. When you talk to people and you're knocking on doors and saying, "Hey, would you like a mail-in ballot? Would you like to register to vote?" Do you see at the door this disconnect between people saying, "Yeah, I'm a huge Trump guy. I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. I'm going to do it, but I don't want to vote for a Supreme Court justice in Pennsylvania. I don't want to vote for Jack Ciattarelli in New Jersey." Like, is there a disconnect between people who will vote for Trump but won't vote for another Republican?
That's not it in my assessment. So, a couple points of interest. We did a lot of work in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, in 2024. And together as a family, we were able to win with Donald Trump being the first president since 1988 to win the county. And so I've tried to use whatever clout, whatever name recognition I have in that county to help inspire people to continue voting, even in off year elections. And I'll tell you, it was on fire. I'd be knocking on doors. I wouldn't be able to open my mouth without somebody recognizing our work or saying, "You have my vote," etc. Where I'm going with this is in the 2023 election, Republicans had 88,000 voters. We got crushed. And it was terrible mail in ballots, whatever. Republicans this year, we actually got out 15,000 more Republican votes in 2025 a municipal election than we did just 2 years ago. We went from 88,000 to 103,000. Now, again, at the same time, the Democrats got 130,000. So we lost, and we now have a Democrat sheriff and a Democrat district attorney in Bucks County. Ultimately, what I'm saying is, I still think there's a support for the president. There's still support for his policies. But what I found so interesting knocking on doors in both NJ and PA is the lack of urgency. Now, I want people to rewind for a second. Remember how you felt in 2024. For a lot of people, including myself, this was a live or die election. I think people really believe that, and it was true at the same time. On the verge of nuclear war, the crisis of the border, which was an illegal alien invasion that had Kamala won, gosh, millions more would be pouring into our country every single day. The economy was crushing us, etc. So for those three reasons, there really was an urgency, a I must vote. I must vote, or the United States of America will cease to exist as we know it. I think that truly was one of the reasons why we won the popular vote. But then Donald Trump wins.
Yeah.
Republicans get the House, Republicans get the Senate. That urgency, Sean, was gone. That urgency was over. And the level of, I don't want to necessarily call it apathy. I don't know, complacency. I don't, but I'll tell you one thing I found very interesting knocking on doors in Wallington, which is a very Polish area over in New Jersey. It was like a Trump plus 30 area. I knew it wasn't good when I'm knocking on doors in Wallington and people didn't care. They didn't care about Jack. They didn't care about the governorship. They didn't care about winning. They didn't know about the election and they just seemed happy not knowing about it or not caring about it. And I think, unfortunately, unless we raise back that level of urgency, the necessity of winning elections, 2026 right now isn't looking too good.
I think you're right. That sense of urgency, like if I, part of what I've been trying to tell folks is losing the House for Trump will mean impeachment, investigations,
Yes.
subpoenas. To your point, it's hard to visualize that in some cases to say, oh, there's an urgency because we're going to lose. Because when you have it, and right now we have these majorities, you don't have a full appreciation for what it's like not to have them. But as you were going around, we're talking a little bit about what I like to refer to as the mechanics, the get out the vote effort, the knocking on doors, right? The plan to vote. Then there's the messaging. And there's been a lot of critique that both Winsome Sears in Virginia and Jack Ciattarelli in New Jersey didn't really hit on the affordability message. Talk to me about what you saw on the ground. Is that what was the bigger issue, the mechanics, the messaging, or both?
It's so funny seeing people, it's so cliche, but armchair quarterback after an election loss and pretend to have all the answers for why everything that went wrong when, we didn't see them out in the field going into election day.
Right.
Uh, um, it's really hard for me to say because I spent a considerable amount of time in New Jersey, and the number one complaint I heard from people, bar none, out of everything else, property taxes, property taxes, property taxes, electricity bills. My water bills are going up. I mean, from being on the ground and just talking to people, how anyone could say this wasn't going to be an economic election. And that's all Jack talked about. And I don't know what it was. Is it Mikey having so much money that she was able to flood the airwaves and lie about Jack, saying that he was going to have a 10% sales tax increase, which of course was ludicrous and a lie? And did people believe that? And did they vote for her because of that economic message? Did we not do a good enough job talking about the fact that Democrats have been in office for 25 years in Trenton? And if you're getting the squeeze of the government right now, then clearly it can't be the fault of the Republicans because Democrats have a trifecta state government. As we mentioned before, Sean, I really think that a part of it was just truly Republican enthusiasm dipping because we have what we want, right? We have what we want in office. But part two, the Trump hate was more than any policies that could make their lives better and that could do it. It doesn't matter if Republicans were offering Democrat voters the world. There are still some Democrats that are going to vote blue no matter who. And I think we saw that in the November election.
It's actually, I may steal that. Blue, no matter who, because I think that's the state of the party right now on the Dem side. They don't care. You mentioned the Charlie Kirk effect. And I think ever since his assassination, there was this question as to how that would affect two groups. I think young people and people who had rekindled their faith. What did you see?
Well, I think the effects are, of course, going to be long term. And we're seeing that in the creation of Turning Point Action chapters and young people forming these groups and starting to come together. We're seeing people of um, enter their faith, go back to church, be more willing to talk about Christ publicly on social media and unabashedly and not be afraid of it. But I was really thinking about this the other day too, is it's not a great analogy at all, but I think it's the best one that we have. Is I just kept thinking to myself, George Floyd, the Democrats had their fiery but peaceful summer of love where they caused billions of dollars worth of damage and they rioted and they burned things down and they protested and they were violent and they were very in your face. And the difference is after Charlie Kirk was murdered, we prayed and we took positive action and we that's pretty much all we did. We just prayed and we sung songs about it and we went to church. And I think ultimately, and I'm not saying those are bad things. That's not what I'm saying for a second. But ultimately, what keeps going on replay in my mind is that 30% of Christians are not registered to vote, 30% of Christians are not registered, and it tracks. Unfortunately, more of the people that supported Charlie Kirk and support Charlie are going to be much less likely to take action in elections and vote than the people on the left in the Democrat Party. And until we tap into that, until we change that, until we get good, God fearing, America loving patriots to understand that they must use their faith and couple it with action and elections in order to make real long term change. Until we embed that in people's minds, we're going to get more of the same, unfortunately.
You have come to prominence in the last few years because of what you have, your efforts, early vote action, get out there, get people mobilized, registered, whatever. You mentioned the resources that you're growing, no question about it, but obviously no one has everything. Were there other outside groups that could have been doing more, should have been doing more, so that we look forward and say, what, again, this is in the spirit of lessons learned. What is it? Is it just fund early vote action more? Is it there are other groups that should have stepped up more and didn't? I mean, what did, again, this is like the sort of the after action report. What did you see? What do we need to do better? Because I am worried, Scott, about the midterms. I don't think people have that sense of urgency. I think there's a lot of finger pointing, and in some cases that's fine, but we need to make sure that we take the right lessons away from these elections.
I would love more support at earlyvoteaction.com. I would love to hire more staff, but look, I can't save you. I'm writing a book right now, Sean, and part of it, the thesis is the power of one. And it's so cliche, but truly be your own hero. I don't want to be your hero. I don't want to be your savior. And even I'm not going to speak for him, but I don't think President Trump wants to be your savior. He wants you to rise up, to step into your own destiny, to take positive change and action. And so, of course, yes, I'd love your support at earlyvoteaction.com. And quite frankly, we're going to need it. But we need better infrastructure in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We have 67 chairs that need more election day workers, that need more committee men and committee women. You know, when I was in Bucks County, Sean, the election day people, the election workers in there, when we were going into November, they begged me. They said, Scott, we need election day workers. Nobody's signing up. People are retiring in droves. They just said, we're done. We're over it. Here's how it should be. You need one Democrat for every Republican uh, on election day. If Democrats fill all their spots, but Republicans don't, who's going to fill the remaining spots, Sean? Democrats. Republicans, gosh, we must fill these voids. I need you to join your local Republican Party. I need you to become a part of the infrastructure. And we need more. I hate to say it. Look at the Democrats. They have all these NGOs, non-governmental organizations. They have their 501c3s, they have their 501c4s. And who do we have on the right? Sure, I love Tom Fitton. I love the work that he does. I love Tyler Boyer. I love Turning Point Action. I love all of these groups, but a lot of immense pressure is on our shoulders to do the work, and we just don't have enough bodies to do it ourselves. And so I welcome more help. But again, unless Republicans embrace mail-in voting and early voting, 2026 is going to be a disaster. And Sean, you know the president. I love our president. I voted for him 3 times. I did everything in my power to elect, try to re-elect, and then we did re-elect him. But I'm going to say this as kindly, lovingly, peacefully, and respectfully as possible. Mr. President, if you see this, please, unless you are going to go ahead with legislation to ban mail-in voting or eliminate it completely, providing for election security, then you must stop attacking the very tool that Republicans need in order to keep the House of Representatives for you, sir. And I mean this very kindly. But if we do not engage in using every single tool available that we used to re-elect you in 2024 with the popular vote and electing Dave McCormick in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, then we will lose the House of Representatives and you will be impeached, sir. And I don't want that to happen. But we must use every tool to our advantage in order to win 2026.
Scott, I know a lot of people who hear that might say, I agree with you. I need to know that we have election integrity mechanisms or enhancements in place to feel more confident in the system. Do you think that we're headed in that direction?
God bless Harmeet Dillon. God bless the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. And look at what they did for New Jersey. They sent monitors to Passaic County, a Hispanic majority minority county that voted for Trump in 1988, first time that voted for him in 2025. And the county said that they weren't going to have video or monitoring of the elections. And so what did the DOJ did? The DOJ, in an effort to make sure every vote is counted, every vote, neither red nor blue, but every legal and lawful vote is counted, they sent in monitors. And I hope that the DOJ is learning from its lesson of what it did in California and New Jersey in 2025. And I hope that the DOJ is going to be more active in making sure that every vote is counted legally and lawfully. And in fact, I just saw Harmeet talking about what happened in Chester County as well. And we need to make sure that here's one thing that we must do, Sean, is knowing from history everything that could go wrong. If I were the DOJ, I would have a letter that has past mistakes of everything that's going wrong, from machines going out to electricity backup generators to what's your plan if there's a bomb threat, to what's your plan if there's poll books, what is your ABC through Z plan, letting election county boards of elections know basically there are going to be no excuses. There's not going to be if something happens on election day, there will be no ignorance of the law. And we must do a better job holding people accountable, because this wasn't just an error, what happened in Chester. And so I think having the foresight of warning election day boards ahead of the 2026 could also have a deterrent effect.
I love that. That's, yeah, this idea that somehow you just ran out of envelopes, as if you didn't know that there was, go to Staples, get more envelopes. Scott Presler, thank you for everything that you're doing to keep people aware of this, to motivate them. So I appreciate everything you're doing at Early Vote Action. And I urge people to go out there and help Scott spread the word, support his organization, and grow what he's doing. So thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Sean.
You bet. Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.